Hey everybody, John the Other here. And new people to my channel might not be able to tell, and old subscribers, not that you're old, but you've been subscribed for a while, might be able to tell that I'm a tiny little bit teed off right now. I was following the social media feed of a leftist feminist person of egregiously bad character, in my opinion, but I noticed that they were talking about Doug Ford, the recently elected Premier of Ontario, and how outraged and upset they were by Doug Ford's team silencing questions by journalists at a Doug Ford press conference.
This was the scene at Queen's Park as government staffers once again loudly clapped to end a Doug Ford news conference, drowning out journalist questions.
Now, I actually agree that this is bad behavior. This is, in fact, extraordinarily bad behavior when done by the standing government. But I have to ask the question, how did this become normal? Treated as if everything is business as usual. Well, here's a lecture by Janice Fiamengo where the identical tactic is practiced by essentially the student government at a university with the cooperation and the collaboration of the social justice professors at that university.
May decide to, okay, it's the signature of a totalitarian ideology to attempt to quash dissent.
And here's another clip where the exact same tactic is done against Jordan Peterson, again coming from leftist, socialist, with the cooperation and the coordination of the professors and the student elected government within the university. Silencing a point of view that they don't like, not offering an argument against it, just shouting over top of it, chanting slogans, ringing noisemakers, and so on. And so when the political left commentators begin pointing to the Doug Ford doing the exact same thing and saying this is unacceptable, I say you are full of baloney. Especially since the political left is on record on a number of occasions pointing out that blowing a horn or silencing somebody is in and of itself an example of free speech. Silencing somebody else's speech is, according to the political left, exactly the same as free speech. Now, of course, this is a completely stupid, empty of logic and empty of merit argument. And the reason I'm pissed off now is that the Doug Ford government is doing this, and they're doing it with the tacit approval of their political opponents on the left. They're in fact imitating the political left. Whatever one side does that's egregious, that's outrageous, that's unacceptable, well, the other side is soon enough going to do that. And the problem is that if you do not have civil discourse, if you have people shouting each other down or blowing noisemakers or pulling fire alarms or whatever other tactics you're using to silence somebody else's speech, not just to stop them speaking, but to stop anybody who wants to from being able to hear them, all that you have left in the resolution of dispute is the use of violent force. If you don't have the ability to speak disagreeable points of view, to argue against an establishment opinion, to put forward an idea that is objectionable, that offends people, that upsets people, that challenges ideas. If you don't have the ability to speak freely without being silenced, the only remaining tool to dispute ideas is violent force. And what one side does, the other does. That's why I'm pissed off. And, by the way, in case you need proof, all we need to do is look at what has recently happened to Jeremy Hambley of the YouTube channel The Quartering. Violently assaulted, and a large number of leftist, feminist, social justice types clapping and cheering and saying, we would like more of this. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what one side does, the other is going to do. And this is, if anybody thinks, by the way, that this is me endorsing violence, you're an idiot. What one side does, the other is going to do. We're going to devolve into a society where speech is gone, and the only way to dispute ideas is through who can bring the more violent or the larger scale of violent force to the argument. So to those on the political left despairing that the sitting Ontario provincial government is now engaging in the leftist tactic of silencing dissent, of course, they're silencing the reporters instead of silencing a public intellectual like Jordan Peterson or Janice Fiamengo. You despair that the established government is now using your silencing tactic. Remember, the only thing left when there is no ability to have a discussion about disputing ideas, the only thing left after that is violent force. And the political left is, of course, the one pushing and propagating violent force. This is a clip shot way back in 2013 at the University of Toronto, and those protesters banging clubs on the ground, they were not kidding, as is evident by the assault against Jeremy Hambley. Now, you might notice that the lighting is a little different and the camera angle is a little bit different than the rest of this video, because this part I recorded, half an hour after I finished my editing, and I think I need to say this. The political ideologues pushing the idea that violent force is equivalent to open discussion, or that silencing somebody is actually the same thing as free speech, they are actually aware that when you remove the ability to resolve disputes of ideas through open dialogue, when you remove that, the only thing you have left is violent force. They understand that. And they also understand that the political left is, at least at present, much more financially and politically powerful than the political right in North America. The left is leading. Never mind who's running the government in any particular place at any given time, there is this very strong surge of political left ideology and money from the political left towards action groups and activist groups and so on. And so when we understand that the removal of open discussion leads only to violence as the means of conflict resolution, there is a desire, there is a palpable desire, not among just rank-and-file lefty ding-dongs, but among thinkers, that the minority on the right will be and should be driven into a violent state of rage. And that is what we must not allow to happen. Because we go there, that is the justification. We have a few right-wing, conservative, libertarian, free speech, classical liberal thinking people going to violence as the solution. Well, I don't get to speak, therefore I'll take a bat with me. That is what is desired. That's what's wanted to justify stepping up the violence on the left towards conservatives, towards libertarians, towards classical liberals. So my caution here is we must not allow ourselves to fall into the trap of thinking, well, we're now in an arena where only violence is the answer, therefore I'm going to do that, or I'm going to advocate it, or I'm going to participate in it quietly. Because that will be the next step justifying open advocation, open practice of violence on the left. And there's a lot more money and a lot more political push. We will have a continent-wide catastrophe on our hands. And it's not just the conservative people or libertarians or right-wingers who are going to end up on the bad end of that. That will be a catastrophe for everybody. We must not allow that to happen. Thanks very much for listening. And if you possibly can, have a lovely, lovely day.